The Retribution Paladin is absolutely decimating in the PvP scene, and in this video I'm going to show you everything you need to know to purge your enemies with holy light. Flaming hot fire, super hot holy fire. If you want to just skip all the yapping, then you can go into the description below where you will find the links to all the best builds for Ret Paladin, as well as the add-ons and macros that will make your life in solo shuffle as a Ret Paladin 100 times easier. What's up guys, and if you enjoy my content, drop a like on the video and consider subscribing. Now let's start with the stat priority. First things first, you want versatility. You want all the versatility you can get, and then you want mastery. Versatility and mastery are your most important stats. There are some builds that can benefit from having a bit of crit, but we can get into that in the build section. If you want a full in-depth PvP gearing guide, you can check out the video in the description below. In patch 11.2, the tier set is immensely powerful, therefore it is essential that you go for it ASAP. The best slots for your tier set are the helm, shoulders, hands, and legs. These slots have a lot of mastery on them, and versatility, which is what you want. They also have a bit of crit, which is actually a pretty decent stat this patch, and can be used in some variations of the PvP builds. Now it's time for talents. Now this is the most cookie cutter default Ret Paladin PvP build that majority of people are using. However, there are some variations that I make. For example, I don't take Eye for an Eye. I prefer it to be more mobile, therefore I take Blessed Calling. Blessed Calling is a 15% increase on top of the 30% increase you get when you press your Blessing of Freedom spell. You can honestly opt to run either Crusade or Avenging Wrath Might. If you're running Crusade, you'll have a lot of haste, therefore it could be a good idea to take Repentance with this talent as well, as that will make it that you could get off very fast cast Repentances on enemy healers in conjunction with your Hammer of Justice, which can lead to a very potent CC chain on the enemy healer. The main difference with Avenging Wrath increases your crit by 15% as well as damage by 15% in PvP combat, which makes it a little bit more bursty. You also get 15% increased healing, which is actually incredibly potent when you factor in the tier set increase to Dawnlight healing on yourself. This is actually an incredibly powerful combo to use if you're running solo PvP in Battlegrounds or World PvP. Your self healing is probably some of the highest on any class. As you can see in this video, I'm prioritizing using Dawnlights on myself, and it can sustain you actually incredibly well. And if you do decide to play Avenging Wrath instead of Crusade, it can be a good idea to run Rush of Light, as you'll be critting a lot more, which will give you a nice 5% haste boost every time you do crit with a single target holy power spending ability such as Final Verdict. If you have not looked into the Ret Paladin Herald of the Sun hero spec tree, you might not see that there are actually a fair amount of benefits from having more critical strike on your character, especially when combining it with Avenging Wrath. You get a critical strike chance of Hammer of Wrath and Divine Storm increased by 10%. You get 200% increased proc chances of Hammer of Wrath, and you also add an additional radiant damage dot when you critical strike with Hammer of Wrath on an enemy. And there's also a 20% chance that when you cast Hammer of Wrath, it will cast again at 50% effectiveness. So when you combine all this up, in PvP combat I have about 18% crit, which will increase once I get full tier set. Combined with this, you can potentially be at roughly 35% crit chance when you're running Avenging Wrath, which will be 45% crit chance with this talent. And then the damage of Hammer of Wrath can proc and be increased by 200%, and if the enemy is below 35% health, your Hammer of Wrath deals an additional 60%. So when the stars align, you can crit somebody below 35% health for 4 to 5 million with a single button press, especially if it procs at 50% effectiveness again. And now this is the Templar build. Templar is incredibly powerful, especially once you get the Force set. It's absolutely insane and probably going to get nerfed soon, but basically you can global people with three Hammer of Lights back to back, especially if you're running crit. It just makes you incredibly bursty. In terms of PvP talents, it really depends what you're facing. If you're facing a lot of spellcasters, then you want to take Blessing of Spell Warding. I run Hallowed Ground so that I'm mobile. Blessing of Sanctuary is you always take it. And Searing Glare is also pretty much a lock-in as well. Searing Glare can stop a lot of damage from the enemy team. Blessing of Sanctuary can get your healer out of stuns, silences, and fears. Now those builds are mostly for competitive PvP. When it comes to world PvP and solo PvP content, I like to run a build like this. Essentially, I get rid of Blessing of Sacrifice because it's completely useless if you're running solo. I prefer to pick up things like stun reduction, movement speed, things like that. I still take Blessing of Sanctuary because it's very easy to pre-sank a lot of CC from people if you're dueling them out in the world. So you can pretty much guarantee a warrior is going to charge at you and stormbolt you. So you pretty much just, as soon as you see him, just sank yourself. It usually happens like 9 times out of 10. It'll completely negate their opener because you come straight out of the CC. When it comes to add-ons for PvP, the number one add-on you need is big debuffs. What big debuffs does is puts this nice big icon on them when they're stunned. So you can clearly see in combat, in the heat of combat, when someone's in a CC. And you can see it, and you can go follow it up with a stun right as it ends. Boom. And you can chain CC perfectly with it. It's a perfect add-on. It's what you want. It's this add-on here, big debuffs. Next add-on you definitely want is S Arena. You specifically want the S Arena updated 2 by Sammers, which has a very nice layout to it. And this essentially just shows you if the enemies use their trinket, if they're on stun DR, so you can chain CC or you know when to stun, etc, etc. So this is what it looks like when someone's on stun DR. As you can see, this little kidney icon on the S Arena add-on, it shows you that the healer is stunned, and then this is the stun DR. That means your following stuns will not be the full duration. They might only be 2 seconds or 3 seconds instead of the full 5 seconds. Same for any CC like polymorph, etc. The last add-on that will highly elevate your gameplay and situational awareness is WEAKAURAS. And you just copy the import string. I will link this in the description. You essentially just click it, it takes you to the WEAKAURAS import, and you click copy import string, it's copied. And then you go into your WEAKAURA add-on, just click import, and then Control V, paste it in here, which will load everything in. And this essentially just puts a big flashing icons on your screen when people use things that you need to react to, like big defensive or big burst cooldowns. The most important indicator is the healer CC. So it will show you right here when your healer is CC, and it'll make a noise as well, so you are aware of it. It's probably the most important add-on because it means you can instantly react with either a Blessing of Sanctuary, or you know you need to press a defensive and kite the enemy away until your healer comes out of the CC. There is one more add-on that will make your life as a Ret Paladin in Solo Shuffle a lot easier. It's called Frame Sort, and it basically sorts the frames so that your macros will always just go on to either your DPS or your healer, however you set them up. So you just want to come into Arena 3v3 and click your player, decide whether you want to be on the top or the bottom. I just go with bottom, and then sort. You want to sort it by role spec, which will always put the healer at the top. If you're on the bottom, the healer will be on the top, the other DPS will be in the middle. And then your macros are simply like this. So if you're just targeting an enemy and you click this macro, it will put it on your healer automatically. If you are targeting yourself, see, I'm pressing it now, it's not going off. If you're targeting yourself, it'll put it on yourself. Or if you target your DPS, it'll put it on your DPS. Same with this, you target DPS, and Frame Sort will sort it all out for you automatically. You can do that, just copy and paste. You just change the spell name to whichever spell you want, and yeah, find a keybind. That's the challenge, is finding spare keybinds for all these macros. But yeah, that will make your life a hell of a lot more easier in Solo Shuffle as Ret Paladin. Now when it comes to doing damage in PvP, there isn't really such thing as a rotation. You really just want to respond with what the situation calls for. You might have to bop your teammate, you might have to get your healer out of CC with Blessing of Sanctuary. Generally just want to build Holy Power with Judgment, get your Blade of Justice out to build Holy Power. When you see an opportunity, Final Reckoning, and then try and cleave as many people with your Wake of Ashes, and you'll get 2 Dawnlights to spend on 2 targets. So you want to put it on one, and then boom, on another. And that way 2 targets now have Dawnlight on, you can go in between them and your son's avatar will just link and just burn everything through it. You can obviously spend both Dawn Lights on just one target, which will just increase the duration. So instead of it just being a 10-second Dawn Light on the one target, it'll be 20 seconds. It's really up to you. If you feel like you want to rot the team to cause the enemy healer pressure, you can do that. Or you can just pump both Dawn Lights onto one target for an extended damage over time. So there we have it, guys. That's my Ret Paladin PVP guide. Very basic guide. If you found value in it, please drop a like on the video. And if you have any comments or if you have any questions, comment down below and I'll try and respond to them as soon as I can. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until then, peace out. See you in the next one.